Yeah. Oh, just everybody assuming a meditation posture, just to have your, if you don't have crossed legs, have your feet on the ground. And sitting up straight, not leaning back, so we can really call upon the powers of the Ka, the levity body, to hold the physical body, maintain it. And with eyes closed, bringing awareness to the center of centers, your heart. Just being with your own heart to start. Whatever it feels like, just honoring and holding yourself. With the intention to come into greater alignment, empowerment, attunement with the greater field of cosmic intelligence. Being with the rhythm and pulse of the heart and lung. Giving it space to do its own thing. While doing that, just some gentle rocking, micro movements back and forth in your column, sometimes referred to as plumb bobbing, like a plumb bob on a string that just lightly swaying, maybe even just micro movements to activate the Ka body and the central channel of verticality. Just feeling how that might adjust your posture, align the spine, and wake up the information highway of the central channel running through your body. And then bringing awareness to the nostrils, holding awareness there, the in-breath, the out-breath. Join the temperature of the air. Not forcing anything, but just noticing the bit of draw or drag as you inhale, slight push as you exhale. Keeping the lips sealed. That's okay, Liz. Thanks. Keeping the lips sealed. So all air goes in and out through the nostrils. And while doing this, we can engage with Egyptian power pose number 1. So raising the arms up, palms facing upwards and open. Elbows around waist height. Forearms parallel to the ground. Just sensing into the activation of this power pose. Continuing with awareness on the nostrils and the breath. Being in this receptive pose, and perhaps feeling a heightening of the energy in the energy body, the ka. And then just releasing the arms again back down to your lap, whatever position's comfortable. And now continuing with the inhalation and exhalation through the nostrils, I'm going to add another step. This is bringing the awareness up from the tip of the nose, along the bridge of the nose, up into the head with each inhalation. Because the nose bone actually doesn't stop at the face, but goes further in. And the energy is directed right into the center of the brain and to the different psychic centers, in particular the pineal gland. So we'll now focus with each inhalation, drawing energy up along the line of the nose bone, into the head and into the brain. Lips sealed, breathing just through the nose, and focusing on the drawing in of new forces, with each in breath right up into the psychic centers, the brain. Adding a bit more of a draw on the inhalation, and then just a nice relaxed exhalation. Starting to amp up the use of the breath to energize particular centers of the Ka body. And while we're continuing with the inhalation, exhalation awareness, now add the inner smile. Adding the inner smile into your Ka body. What is the inner smile? It's really using the imagination, having the smile somewhere within you. See where it wants to go. It could be going into your head and face, or it could be in your heart, it could be in your belly. Where does the inner smile want to sit within you? Feel the qualities of that. Now we can also add an outer smile, meaning now that you've connected that quality of the inner smile, let it manifest in your face. See if it can actually arise into your physical body from the Ka body. You planted it there like a yeast in the Ka body. See if that smile can emerge in the physical body. Just be with that quality as you continue to be with the breath in the nose. Inner smile, outer smile. And then we'll release that practice, moving awareness up from the brow where it has been, moving up from the nose to above the head, going above the crown, finding a nodal point above your head where you can just rest awareness, keeping your awareness in the column above. Could be a few inches, could be a foot or more. See what feels right for you at this moment. And again, going into the Egyptian power pose, number 1, palms open, facing upwards, arms at waist height, parallel to the ground. You can imagine now this point above the head connecting with each of the palms, which in turn then creates a triangle. Two palms and the point of the head creating a triangle. Just be with the quality of that geometric symbol. Just notice what you notice. Just feeling the cohesiveness or the coagulation of energy in this triangle between above the head and the two palms in the Egyptian power pose. And then releasing that, releasing the hands back down to the lap. Feeling that point above the head for a few more moments. And now allowing awareness to drift down from above to the crown. Through the crown, into the head, to the brow. Down through the head, into the throat. Coming down into the chest. And to the center of centers. The heart envelope. And now again, engaging with that imprint of the point above the head. Imagining, visualizing this feeling a pyramid that comes from that point above your head down around your body, all the way down to the ground, to the base of the pyramid. Point above, the base below, you inside, your heart at the center. Now ask, what color would like to fill the pyramid that you're in? See what color comes, or colors. What color will fill it? Just be with the qualities of that color. Every color has its own resonance. Allow the quality of that resonance to work upon you inside the pyramid. Just enjoying slow breaths, or maybe no breath at all at this point. Be with the quality of that color just for another moment, holding it in the space, allowing its activation to take place. Now we're going to engage with the ka pose. So arms going straight out at the side, and forearms going straight up, palms face forward, connecting with the quality of levity. Activating the levity body. See if you can feel as if the arms are almost floating on their own. No strain, overcoming the weight and gravity of the physical body. The arms are just floating in space. Now we're actually going to tilt the forearms forward, keeping the upper arms straight out at the side, but the forearm is starting to tilt downward slowly until they come to pointing downwards. So we're still working with the ka body, but changing the angle from upward pointing to downward pointing. This may feel a little bit awkward, if not uncomfortable, but sense into the shift in the quality of energy as you change the angle. See how you can have an effect on your own energy field with these poses that have different angles. Now let's begin turning it back up again. Arms still going out at the side, slowly changing the angle until we come back up. The forearms pointing straight up, palms forward. And once more, we'll tilt them back down. Just going slowly, keeping third eye awareness on the shifting quality of energy as you change the angle. So again, the forearms are pointing down. Notice what you notice. Once more, turning them back upwards. You can take a moment to stop halfway up. The forearms are parallel to the ground, palms face down. Feel into that. Continue back up. We'll finish this off with the arms and the upward ka pose. And while doing this, we'll do 3 chants of the Amun Ra, which of course the Ka body connects to the sun, to the light. It's a very appropriate pose for this chant of Amun Ra. Start with an exhalation. Inhale through the nose. Now, once more. Releasing the practice, releasing the arms down to the lap, but continuing a few more times with the Amun Ra silently within your Ka body. Circulating it through your Ka body. And as we bring this opening set to a close, bring your hands up and just touch the tips of the fingers together. Just the tips of the fingers pressed together lightly, as if holding a piece of paper between them. Just feeling into the quality of this form. It's good if you can have the fingertips pointing upward in space, because now we're going to keep the fingertips touched together, but bring now the heels of the hands together. Again, lightly, not pushing too hard. Feel the change in the quality of energy, fingertips and heels touching. And you can keep a little bit of space in between the hands. Go back to the first position, just the fingertips, so move the heels away from each other. Pull the heels away. Bring them a little bit further away. Christian, you could get a bit more dramatic with your pulling the heels out. Yeah, there we go. So we can really live into the different qualities. Now bringing the heels back together along with the tips. Again, moving the heels away and just the tips. Moving the heels back together. Feel what you feel. Notice what you notice. And then crossing the wrists over the chest. You don't need to touch the wrists. You can keep them separate so you're actually touching more of the ka body together. You can have the left over the right or the right over the left. You can try both ways to see the difference in what feels, what you're called to at this moment. Which power is more effective. Sealing the aura, feeling your aura held, but also feeling the rest of the circle, each individual pillar in our circle here in the loft, as well as Zoom. And even people watching the recording can tune into the sense of cohesiveness and coagulation within our separate energy bodies. Being in gratitude for being a part of something where we are held and can hold space together. And then rubbing the palms to create friction and warmth. Get the palms nice and warm, cup them over the eyes, drawing that warmth in to prepare the eyes. Come back into 3D realm. Feel the warmth right down into your heart, soul warmth. Getting ready to hold spiritual fire together. When you're ready, coming back. Great. Well, welcome to another session of Spiritual Alchemy. Perspectives and powers for personal and planetary transformation. Welcome to everybody who's here, everybody who's not here, and of course, everybody who is here but not here in the spiritual realm, taking an interest in this work that we're doing, this very important work, sometimes referred to as the great work of taking up this task of alchemy, transformation, which is done so unconsciously and done so much in nature. But now nature has produced us. We're not of the earth, we're actually born the earth, through the earth, we're of the cosmos. But we're born through the earth, and the earth has produced us to take up this task as vanguards, to bring about the further transformation of things consciously, willfully, and together. So to start off again, let's have a little go around check-in. Again, say your name and a brief comment on anything you experienced in that opening set and or things coming up from the home play during the week. If you have comments or questions around that, this would be a good time to hear about that. So who would like to start? Should we start here? I'll just do it in circle fashion. Name and...
I'm Shambhala, and so long story short is that I'm quite distracted, and so it's hard for me to be fully present for the meditation we just did. So, I'm a bit not fully present. So, unfortunately, that's the news for tonight. Not really fully present. I feel like I deserve a gold star just for showing up, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That can be the case. Yeah. showing up is sometimes half the battle. Yeah. And I hope being in the circle helped. You felt somewhat carried by the collective in the work. Was there any little thing that you noticed at all in doing the opening set or?
No, not especially. I was a bit distracted in my own world.
Okay. I know you got an art tablet this week for the journaling practice.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's great.
For
So
fantastic ideas. Yeah.
great to write down. Okay. Thank you, Shambhala. Yeah.
I am Devin. Yeah, I was also a bit distracted at the beginning. But by the end, I was feeling much more in my column, like lots of great light. When you asked about the color, this beautiful yellow came in, which was really nice and soothing. So I was able to kind of get out of my head by the end of it. And then one thing I noticed that was kind of cool when you asked us to spread the smile inside or upwards. I can't remember exactly.
The inner smell, yeah.
And so it came up into my face, and then my eyebrows went.
Levity.
That's
Your eyebrows popped up.
yeah. I just felt the outside a little bit.
Yeah. Well, working on the Ka body then allows it to affect things above and things below. So things in the physical body will respond to these Ka practices. So yeah, probably, could have been like a popping off of energy, discharge of energy, stuff that gets stuck. One of my teachers, Samuel Sagan, my meditation teacher, used to talk about energy pancakes that would land on us. And we wouldn't even notice necessarily unless we're paying attention and tuned in, but often energy pancakes will just kind of be there until we don't notice it until maybe we start doing a practice and all of a sudden it pops off. It's like, whoa, there was something sitting there. I didn't even realize.
Yeah, I do often feel like a bit of a furrow in my brow area. Like when I tune in and I'm checking in with my body, there's always kind of like a furrow is the best way to describe it.
That probably could come from the next level up from the Ka. We'll get to look at that tonight. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was feeling like very open when we started and present, and then I think I'm just feeling very like physically tired. So it like that kind of set in part of the way through, and then I also felt like I just went off somewhere, and then so I like feel like I was mentally present for half of that, and then I could feel my body's feeling the motion, but I was just like I didn't know where I went.
Oh,
So
okay. So you weren't gearing into the practices as we went through the steps?
no, I was doing them and I was feeling very present. I think just towards the end, I started to feel very like my body started to feel very heavy. So
Okay.
even like holding the poses this way felt like hard for me to maintain. But yeah, in the beginning, like yeah, the smiling part, I could feel the way that that energy was shifting in my body, even just with the inner smile and letting it come out. So that was cool to like be aware of like that reminder of how we can shift our own mood and the way we feel just by smiling.
Great. Yeah, and I'm going to continue to push things a bit more in the opening set, so it's good if you can come rested if it's possible. I know it's like a tall order in a day and time when there's so much going on, but yeah, for the duration of the course, it's good if you can, prioritize this so that you show up rested, because it's not only for you, it's also how you hold the circle for others. Because we'll keep pushing it, and yeah, it'll hit walls in your Ka energy, because these things take energy, can tax and whatnot. So yeah, it's just self-knowledge when you find out, oh, okay, there's my limit for tonight. All right, thanks, Liz. Yeah.
Christian, and yeah, as we were going through it, I was just amazed with what you can do with your intention, just such subtle changes in how they create these dramatic differences in where the energy's flowing. And yeah, I think in each step I noticed quite like dramatic energy amounts of energy moving, particularly in the one where you got us to kind of bridge the gap between that nodal point above the head and then like the top of the physical head. Felt like this, like, yeah, ton of energy, kind of like almost bouncing back and forth. And yeah, and then I guess during the pyramid aspect of it, noticed this like red light starting to illuminate, and yeah, I mean, a lot of really cool things, and just really amazed by um, all of these different positions and how they create these energetic effects. And yeah, and then I guess just in terms of like this past week, the cursive writing was really a cool practice for me. I never write that way, so
I know it's
it was
a dying art, isn't it?
yeah, and I realized I think I actually want to start writing just that way, and it's yeah, it's like
Yay! That's huge.
made me a lot more mindful as I was writing, and also yeah, the Shiva sneeze was a pretty cool practice too. I was noticing a lot of clearing, so
Love it.
Yeah,
Love
that's
it.
great.
Shiva sneeze.
yeah.
Great. Anybody else working the Shiva sneeze? Okay. Yeah.
We reminded each other every time
Yeah.
one of us would sneeze, like, did you Shiva sneeze?
Yeah.
Great. Great. Yeah, it's a bit of a art form to it, right? Like, it's but you got it, eh? You got it as like the whole thing came out through the nostrils.
Yeah, and I found like the more I did it, then the more sneezing would come, and yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, felt like a lot was clearing up. So
Excellent.
Mhm.
Yeah, clearing is good. We can get pretty gunked, energy pancakes, all sorts of stuff, on all levels. It's a tall order to maintain ourselves with consciousness. Nature's doing what it can, but we gotta work with nature to optimize it.
Mhm.
And the thing I got you to move your heels out a bit more
Right.
to be a bit more dramatic because I think at first you just had a tiny thing.
Mhm.
And that's fine. You can experiment with the different angles because every angle has a different frequency.
Mhm.
So there's a different quality. And to follow that with your mind is really a powerful thing. So it's just, yeah, inviting you to try it. But, yeah, different ways. Could you feel the difference?
Yeah, yeah. I think there were certain points where I kind of, like some others have said, almost felt like I was kind of like blanked out. It's like, whoa, what just happened? And then I kind of came back, and but yeah, I definitely noticed a difference as I was changing positions there. Yeah.
Well, we'll explain in a moment a bit of where that blanking out can be and where we go
Mhm.
particularly when we're meditating or even daydreaming, like what's going on there anatomically
Mhm.
in terms of our subtle structure. So yeah, thank you.
Hi, everyone, I'm Stephanie. I don't feel like I've gotten that, like, I would say the word deep in however long it was meditation in a long time. Like, it went very deep for me as we went through the breathing, bringing it up to the nose. I blanked out in that section from here to wherever this was. And I don't know where I also went, but I just saw a lot of visuals of like something unlocking and like a lot of just geometrical like unlocking. And then I came back and then we were up here and continued. So that was like an interesting, like something was opening up in this region, which I tend to disconnect from in my third eye, which I thought was kind of cool. And yeah, I just felt really like in a different plane of my body for most of that meditation. I didn't feel wasn't aware of my physical body until we had to lift my arms.
Mhm.
Like I really felt the depth was like I just left my body a little, but I was here, but I was really in the energy body, which was really cool.
Mhm.
And I felt the shift for sure when I went down. It felt like wherever my hands were pointing was where the energy was going, like radiating out of my fingers. Like even here, I could just feel it forward and then down. And yeah, I was really aware of, I was just really aware of the energy flowing in a very cool way. Like I was really dropped into the energy. And I really enjoyed it.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
And the Shiva sneezes were really intense for me. Like I think I did about 80% of the time. Like when I knew it was coming, I was like really, like it kind of hurt my inner ear, nose, throat when I did it. Not like hurt, but like I was kind of not looking forward to feeling that after. But I did it as often as I could like do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. When you really catch it, it shouldn't, I mean, it creates friction, but it shouldn't, like go into the ears
I think
or,
once
you know.
it did, and I was like, or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
one time it didn't feel great, and I was like, oh, should I do that again? But I was fine. But like a lot came out, and it was cool.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
And the writing too, I also really enjoy, like my writing looked not like a grade 3. It was like, it was just nice to bring that kind of intention to our writing. Like journaling.
The writing, you felt like it grew as you did it?
Yeah. Yeah. And really enjoyed it because I hate journaling. And I was like, made me focus on something else other than what I'm writing. It's like how I'm writing,
Yes.
which I liked because then I started wanting to write more. And I was like, okay, it got me to actually write more every day.
Great. Great. Yeah. And the exercise is two-part, is about journaling, which I don't like writing journaling. I do a Rukshow backwards review practice with my eyes closed, and I really love that. And I might introduce that a little bit later on.
Like reversing.
Yeah, I might introduce that one later on, but so I'm doing the journaling, which I don't normally do. So, I go really slowly, so it's not a lot. Like I'm not filling a page, and I have a nice artist tablet, so it's just like every letter, it's like, oh, let's do that again. So it's just really being mindful and yeah, as you said, it's growing, which means that your ka body is growing because what you put out goes back in. So you're really feeding it and forming it.
Yeah.
And this is the point, is to bring order and form to where there's disorder and to overcome some of the anxiety disorder that people are suffering from, which is not a chemical thing, it's an etheric ka thing. Yeah. And the upper levels as well. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah.
I'm AT. Let's see. I did not have the courage to do the Shiva sneeze. I do, when I sneeze, I do let it all out. I don't block it, but there's something about it going through my nose rather than my mouth that I haven't, been able to get past. It's the same thing when I can't do a backwards flip in the water either. So I don't know. It's like it's something that's happening in my nose, and it just gets all uncomfortable. So
Okay.
I'll
Yeah, whatever,
think about
like
it
these are all just things we're putting
little
into our
technique,
toolbox.
totally.
So
I did notice that keeping my pursed lips closed when breathing was a new thing for me. I do tend to breathe through my nose, but I keep my mouth open like this. And so I thought you were about to sneeze there.
no.
And so it was just adding a little bit more consciousness to my breath when I kept my lips pursed and watching the sort of breath come in and out of my nostrils. So I really enjoyed that.
Really?
And then I've practiced the ka when I'm sitting in quiet space like the sauna, and it allowed me to sit in the sauna longer and just be more present. So I'm enjoying that. And in our last class before this one, Jesse, we learned about the etheric body. So I'm actually also just painting, the etheric of the cod without even doing it. So just sort of imagining it.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Great.
that's helped me to also keep up without having to actually go like this. Imagining doing that.
Yeah, we'll get
And,
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought you might be, but I've been enjoying doing that too. And yeah, just sitting in the sauna, like, and just imagining that, because there's other people there, so I can't really be sitting like that. And it was like, oh my God, I'm able to stay in this longer and feel pretty invigorated. So that was pretty cool.
Great.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And then just lastly, I enjoyed the visualization of because I've done this pose many times, but I never considered linking it to the pyramid. So that was kind of a neat concept.
Yeah. It's a playground.
Yep.
So you're welcome to go outside of the box of what you're
Yeah, and I
here.
never that's why I appreciate your instructions, because I never even considered making that link until you suggested it. So now I can bring that into my sort of practice and keep that visualization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the playground is the field of cosmic intelligence, which has the infinite possibilities of infinite patterns. So, you're like a spirograph. You can just play around with it, and but there's also something to be said for consistency. Repeating the same thing over and over again, and kind of building up, fortification of a particular gesture like that. That helps to realign, the disorder that we're kind of imprinted with. So, all right, AT,
Oh.
good stuff. Aho. Mhm.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Agnieszka. So yeah, sitting in meditation, I really strongly saw the pyramid, the visualized pyramid, and for me it was green. It was a really, really bold pyramid. It was green. So remember that. Yeah, over the week, working a little bit on my Reiki. Had a chance to practice the Reiki. And yeah, just getting reacquainted with that energy field. I don't know if I sneezed this week. Sometimes you just have to keep I don't keep count, but I don't know if I sneezed. So I'd like to, just happens really quickly, right? So you have to be ready for sneeze. Yeah, so that's just kind of I have a lot of mental chatter right now. Just stuff. So it's, yeah, so hopefully that settles soon. We can get back into the body. Clear things a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I really get pulled into that mental plane of things and trapped there with all the busyness of life.
Dizziness, yes.
Dizziness of life. I said busyness, but you were dizziness. That's funny.
And our brains are there's only so much we can process too, right? So
sometimes need to simplify.
Yeah, so it's nice to sit in that meditation and just calm the mind, and felt good about silence.
And yeah, that's kind of the bottom line is hopefully you're having a meditation practice and doing things daily or a few times a week. It doesn't even have to be long, like 5 minutes can anchor something in and really change things. And I'll continue to add things to your toolbox that you can take and incorporate in your meditation practice. So yeah, it'd be good if you can take these things. They're all going to be listed on the Google Doc, and you can just go look there and go, oh yeah, the triangle. Or, oh yeah, Amun Ra. Oh yeah, the fingertips and the heels. All right, let's see who's there in Zoom land. Would like to. Can you guys hear okay? You're hearing okay? The voices here in the loft?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Great. Who wants to go first? Werner?
Yeah, I'll go first. Hi, my name is Werner. I've really been enjoying this. The colors that were sweeping through me in the pyramid, that was the whole concept of meditating at the same time as I'm doing certain motions is new to me. I have not done that before, holding the power pose and the ka pose while meditating, very powerful. I love the thing with the hands. That was just, and feeling how how the energy shifts with how close you hold the heels of your palm and the energy you feel when your fingertips touch, and the connection with the psychic internal experience and the physical experience. The color that I felt was golden, sort of a brassy golden color sweeping through my pyramid. Wonderful. Yes.
Oh,
Uh, the ka feeling, I incorporated that into my meditation throughout the week. That was very new and very exciting.
great. I can
So
feel your
thanks very
excitement.
much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks and praise to the spiritual powers.
Indeed.
And thanks and praise to us for catching it and bringing it through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
But
It's great, Werner. Yeah, keep up the good work. All right. And Phil.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
yes,
Yeah, you know what? Let me try this something here. I think I can actually switch. Let me see if I can switch the speaker over to my. Say something?
Hello, how's it going?
Uh,
1, 2, 3,
yeah,
4,
we can hear you.
5.
I was trying to see if I could get you on
I
the
could tr-
TV speakers, but I'm not sure exactly how to do that. We'll figure that out later.
It's all good. I could try to speak up.
Oh, there you go. You're on the
Oh,
TV now.
perfect. There we go.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Phil. I'm here. Should I continue?
Yeah, you're loud and
Okay,
clear
great.
on the TV.
I'm here.
Uh,
I'm doing for a few weeks a solo artist residency in this wood cabin. As far as the exercises go, it's interesting. Last week I mentioned that there was a moment where I almost felt like I was going to pass out. And what was interesting was I had a similar sensation this time. And it didn't feel like I was going to pass out. It almost felt like that state in between awake and asleep, where you're kind of in that liminal space. And it was when we were doing the pyramid with the third eye, and I thought that was really fascinating. I find that when I've been doing my meditations, I'm really feeling like a physical sensation in that pineal gland, third eye area. And the other comment I wanted to share was I've been really focusing as well this week on the nose breathing and thinking about how the nose is this filter, because I've had a lot of resistance around nose breathing through the years, and this idea of the nose as kind of this natural filter. So I was focusing in on that this week.
oh, cool. Why have you had resistance to nose breathing over the years?
I find that it's like just so much easier to get oxygen or whatever through my mouth. At least I have the story around it.
It is easier. It is the easier path. It is the path more traveled. The nose is the path less traveled. But you're noticing the difference in a beneficial way?
I think that I'm interested in this idea of these less traveled, like kind of not the road of least resistance, but the road of most benefit, the road of most effectiveness, growth, whatever it is. And so I feel like that's a really powerful thing to focus on as a subtle technique to be to be in that space. I don't know.
Great. Good. Well, I appreciate the fact that you're taking up the challenge, open to it, and to explore it as a spiritual scientist. And yeah, I look forward to hearing any updates on that.
Great.
Great. Okay. Let's see.
Can I share something about the?
Oh, yes, please.
There was a point where we were experimenting with like sleeping with tape on the nose, where you just breathe through your nose. You sleep way deeper. There's a lot of cool science if you're interested in like really exploring it that I won't go into, but it pressurizes the oxygen properly so that it distributes the oxygen more efficiently within your.
I'm so sorry that the taste is good.
Not that bad.
Yeah.
Doesn't taste as good?
No.
That's all I'll say about that. But I think there is a reason. It definitely like affects your sinus, the space in your sinus in your face. Like there's a lot of science around like mouth breathing, how it narrows your palate and how it changes your teeth and everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, if you snore, it's better to breathe through your nose. Things like that.
Yeah, definitely. There's a whole bunch of items I haven't really spoken to, and of course, science does verify this, and we're trying to look at what's happening on the levels that science doesn't pay attention to.
Yes.
You know, to really to charge up the Ka body as a medium, because then the Ka can serve what's below it, the Ket physical body, but then it also is a medium of what's above it, and what we're going to be looking at today. Yeah. Cool.
Good to use the neti. That I think that whenever I use that, I just get so much clarity.
Yeah, and make space in your face.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Oh, happy. That's intense.
Opposite for me does not clear me.
normally it doesn't, but I took some the other night and some reason I shot it like so far into my nose, like I never have, and it like cleared my entire sinuses.
Yeah.
How nature's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're interested, I do not a neti pot, but a neti bowl. Similar bowl full of warm, salty water. Take the bowl, pretend this is the bowl, and I stick my nose into it and breathe the water up into my nose and then out my mouth.
Both nostrils?
Both nostrils at the same time. Yeah, both nostrils in, and you drink it up. The reason why I was taught this through my meditation school is because when you do it that way, you're able to get the solution, the saline solution, up into sinuses up here, because then the salt solution can help clear the etheric gunk energy pancakes that affect the pineal gland in the third eye.
Versus doing just one?
Yeah, the neti pot, you know, it's up one and out the other. So you're not really supercharging it up into the sinuses above the eyes. So it's like you get it up there and it comes out the mouth. You do that 3 or 4 times. And then there's a thing where you shake your head. Well, blast it out that way. Blast it out that way in the bathtub or outside. And then if you hang your head upside down between your legs, you'll notice even more comes out, because quite a bit will go up into these sinuses up here. And that's targeting really awakening the third eye and not just cleaning the sinuses.
When you shake.
The whole thing. is targeting, yeah, awakening the third eye. Yeah. Because we want to be good Ka priests that are working to maintain the Ka, because the Ka is also sometimes referred to as the double. Referred to as the double because it is like the counter part to the physical. And as I mentioned, the Ka and the physical never separate during life. If it's separated, then you would be a corpse. Which is kind of ironic in that the Ka priests would actually feed Ka to corpses that have been mummified. And we'll get into the whys and wherefores of that. But that's what they were doing in Egypt. They were had the corpses in the chambers or temples which were called Hut Ka, like a Ka house, Hut Ka. And they would feed them something called the Kahu. That's the feeding of Ka to a corpse, to a mummy, or to the space. So we're doing the same thing. We're building ourselves as a Hut Ka, a house of Ka, with the Haku. And I experienced some of these spaces while going in the pyramids and in the tombs and temples. And another aspect of those spaces is the vibration, incredible vibration. With the I did some toning and chanting, just sublime. And that is also, as you know, sound feeds the Ka. So this is why we're doing some chanting as part of the practice with the Amun Ra, which connects the Ka to the sun forces, which is why we feel so good when we go out in sunlight. People complain about the lack of sunlight this time of year, but you don't necessarily have to have sunlight. You can find other ways to amplify the Ka body and become sunnier yourself, including the inner smile. To hold that inner smile and then let it manifest into a sunny smile. You're really becoming like a sun dawning within yourself. And of course, this enhances the levity of the Ka. And that's levity supports what? It supports ascension. We'll talk about ascension further down the road, but to realize that, you're preparing a space, you're preparing something for the capacity for ascension. Ascension of what? Well, we're going to start to look at that today a little bit. But the last thing I wanted to mention here on the Ka priests, they're actually similar to the Jedi Knights of Star Wars. Anybody here into Star Wars? AT, did you ever watch Star Wars?
No,
No? Oh,
I did, but I never got into it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the Jedi Knights developed by George Lucas, who actually he was into spiritual stuff through the Waldorf school movement because his kids went to Waldorf.
Right?
Hmm?
He
Yeah.
sent his kids to Waldorf.
Yeah. So he actually had a Star Wars script read by some Waldorf teachers to see if it aligned with archetypes and the hero's journey and stuff like that. But he says that the Jedi Knights, they were really more like priests who just happened to develop their warrior techniques as well as being priests that were their main responsibility was the maintenance of the force, right? The force be with you, the force of the universe. So we're doing the same thing as Ka priests / Jedi Knights to maintain the field personally and collectively. So let's just take another moment before we take a break to touch on some of the alchemy that we've been looking at on the whiteboard here. And the symbol of the serpent eating its tail it's known as the Ouroboros. The Ouroboros.
How do you spell that?
Ouroboros. Well, I'm going to put up a share screen here. An Ouroboros actually means eating tail, or consuming tail, devouring tail. Ouroboros. Yeah, here's another example of it. And in fact, the very first occurrence of this has been found in the tomb of Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun was his name. Tutankhamun. I'll have to go through my photographs because I actually went into the tomb of King Tut, where his mummy still lies. And I took pictures of everything there. So I must have a picture of this. And you can see on one of the walls, there is this hieroglyph with the serpent eating its tail around King Tutankhamun. And this has become a popular image, not only in ancient Egypt, but this would be more in medieval alchemy. And here's another variation of it, where it is in this, what sometimes people call the figure eight gesture or the infinity gesture. Geometrically, this is known as a lemniscate. Lemniscate, Lemnscate. Lemnscate. Lemniscate is the geometric term for this. And the interesting thing about this variation is that, if you have the circle of the serpent eating its tail, just creating a circle like this, you can take a circle like this elastic band. You have a circle, as in this elastic band, and then twist it, you have a lemniscate. So you still have everything that's contained in the circle, but now it's flowing in a different way. And we'll look at that in a moment. But it's interesting to see that the circle and the lemniscate are still holding the same thing, but in a different way. Put this on the whiteboard here. Yeah, you could have the circle of the Ouroboros. Or have it twisted in the middle, where it becomes a lemniscate. Now, let's imagine for a moment that this serpent actually does continue eating its tail. And apparently, rat snakes have been known to swallow their own tail and to eat it. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to look it up, but I've heard that. What would happen? Let's imagine if that continued consuming its own tail. It just kept going.
It gets to its own head.
Yeah, it would just keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Until it would get smaller, smaller, smaller. If it kept going, it really come to this point at the middle. Anatomically, it's impossible, but we're not talking about a physical thing here. We're not talking about a physical snake. We're talking about a spiritual principle of the circle, which really is a symbol of wholeness. And if it did continue to eat its tail in some sort of dynamic way, it would come to a point at the middle of the circle. So we're actually seeing in this geometric form the sense of something that has a circle and a point. And there could be a dynamic breathing between the two. And this is a bit akin to the Big Bang Theory, right? That the universe started as this infinitesimally small point of energy and then exploded and has been expanding out. Everything that was in that point was, contained the whole universe. I don't personally believe in the Big Bang Theory. It is a theory, and it's a lot of, got lots of holes in it, and there are definitely scientists that don't believe in it. I don't believe in it because it doesn't include the spiritual aspect of creation. But nonetheless, there is something archetypal about this gesture of going from the center point, expanding out to a peripheral ring, and then back to the point again, which is what they say is going to happen to the universe. Someday it's going to run out of gas and it's going to implode back in on itself, and that's the end of the universe. So it's kind of a gesture of creation and destruction. But now we can look at it here a little bit differently on how things have gone from a spiritual state. If we want to talk about the manifest universe and put the Big Bang Theory to the side, we can consider that everything began in a spiritual state and then has come into a manifest state of matter. And in between these two poles, we can look at the four elements of earth, water, air, and fire, which is definitely part of the alchemical picture of things. The alchemists believe that things transformed from these different states, going from spirit to matter and matter back to spirit, right? Because this, instead of being a circle, now we're talking about something that is a dynamic flow from one state to another. And so things go from being in a state of fire, we could say heat or warmth, gaseous, liquid or fluid, and solid. But everything that was contained here now is in a creative dynamic flow that is creative but also destructive. As we've seen here, there's coagula, where things come into a state of matter and then dissolve again, solve, go back to spirit. And this was part of the alchemist's intent, was to recognize that everything has come from spirit into a form of matter, and their work is then to work with matter to transmute it back into a spiritual state, to be able to raise matter to a higher place. And also put in here that this was referred to as the salt pole in alchemy. This was the sulfur pole. And in the middle was the substance of mercury. Salt, being solid matter, it's akin to calcination. When things are burned down to ash or down to salt, people are sometimes referred to as the salt of the earth. You ever heard that expression? You are the salt of the earth. It means just the most simplest, plainest, most kind of honest person. A person who's the salt of the earth, they're just plain earthy people, no pretense, nothing fancy, but just good solid people. So yeah, that's the salt pole, and the sulfur pole is akin to the fire, the burning. And mercury is a substance that is very mercurial. It is the substance that facilitates movement. Right? When we think of mercury, we think of its movement, its malleability, that mercury will move under any kind of temperature, be hot or cold, because this would tend to be the hot pole, and this would be the cold pole. Mercury moves in the middle through these different states. One last thing I'll add here. In the alchemist picture of things is how they considered that really down here, matter was like lead, heavy and impure and not of high value, that needed to be transmuted and raised to a higher value and quality. So that would be what? Gold. Gold, yeah. That was an easy question. And in fact, it is possible to create gold out of matter of lower substance and atomic numbers and whatnot. But it takes nuclear power, takes a lot of nuclear power, and would be very expensive to do, and that's why we don't do it, because it wouldn't be economically feasible to use a nuclear reactor to create gold, because it'd cost so much. Gold, actually, interestingly enough, is produced in the cosmos by the stars. When stars explode and collide, that's what produces the element of gold. And in the formation of the Earth, it said that the stars colliding, exploding, and creating gold, then eventually coagulated into the formation of our solar system and the Earth. And so that's why there's gold buried deep in the Earth. It actually came from star substance. So we'll look at the value of that in a moment. But any questions on this before we take a break? This little peek at the alchemist's perspective. Yes, please.
Is the point of this to always go from lead to gold or matter to spirit, or does it go the other way? Like you convert spirit back to matter? If it's always flowing.
Yes, well, don't we want to manifest? Right? This direction is really the capacity to bring things that are in spirit or in higher levels of our being and manifest it physically. Right? If you want to manifest wealth, or you want to manifest community, or you want to manifest physical objects, we have powers to do that. So no, it's not. It's a two-way street. The other direction would be the path of liberation. Because things have come into matter that need to be liberated.
What's an example?
Well, when you put a piece of wood on your fireplace, you're liberating something that's in matter that ultimately, the earth, air, fire produces heat. Ultimately, everything that has come into physical manifestation is going to need to be liberated by human activity and consciousness, because the great work is to further the evolution of the earth to its next step as a higher state of being, as are we to make a next step to a higher state of being. These mammalian bodies is not the end of the road. These monkey suits are temporal. Everything's temporal, really, on this plane of existence. And so we need to up our game and understand these principles on how to transform and transmute things, to bring things in and to liberate things out. Yeah.
Could
Yes,
another
please.
example of that be like an emotion that you feel in the density, like you feel anger and then you express it and you yell and you scream and you feel a heat, and that's it releasing into liberating back into spirit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for that. And that's where we're going to be going today when we look at this third level. Right now, we've been talking about things that are physical. We've been talking about things that are energetic, but now you're talking about things on the level of the
Big reveal. Here we go.
Emotional.
big reveal, the Ba. This is where we're going today. So why don't we take a 10-minute break? If you have questions, you can bring them after the break. Let's take a 10-minute tea break. And after that, we'll get into the Ba.
I just can't see it. What's ba spelled? Oh,
BA.
BA.
Yes. So yeah, tonight, our third night, looking at the third level of the human being from the Egyptian perspective, the ancient Egyptian perspective. And I just want to also state that, what I'm bringing forth isn't, trying to create a new religion or something or a new dogma. This is to share different perspectives. And that's why the subtitle of this class is called Powers and Perspectives. It's about learning new perspectives that may be empowering, or maybe you don't find them empowering, which is fine too. Maybe something doesn't actually fit or resonate for you, but there's something about having an open mind and seeing what comes in. As they say, an open mind and a mind and a parachute have something in common. They both work better when they're open. And so, yeah, this evening we're moving on to the third level, what the ancient Egyptians called the Ba. 3 of 8 levels. And you might be asking, why is it that we don't notice these things in ourselves? Like, we're talking about 8 different levels. Like, do you think of yourself in terms of 8 different levels? Or do you just really kind of buy into the modern Western model that, yeah, you're just a physical body made up of atoms and, that's it. The thing is, the reason we don't distinguish these things within ourselves is because perhaps we haven't had the perspective given to us that's there so that we can notice these different levels in ourselves. And that's one of the beautiful things that I'm enjoying about this, is to go through these perspectives and then be open to an experience of their power. And this to me is really what it is to be truly awoke. To be truly awoke is to, first of all, know a new perspective, have it open an awareness in us, then open up a power within us. That to be awoke is to have power awoke within us. So with this Ba, we saw what the hieroglyphic is for the ka. Anybody have an idea what the hieroglyphic is for the ba? Nice guess. Nice guess. But this is the ka, even when it's pointing down, it's really a hieroglyph that points to something that's not static like this, but a dynamic principle that can be in motion. It's like when you see a hieroglyph of a leg. Is a leg just like a thing that, just an image? No, a leg is something that's dynamic, that has movement to it, that has an effect to other things as well. Nope.
Like an Egyptian.
Walk like an Egyptian.
Yes.
Well, we are trying to think like an Egyptian with these new perspectives. But I will show you on the share screen image of the ba. The ba is a bird with a human head. This is how the ba is depicted. Bird, mostly considered to be a hawk, but not necessarily, with a human head. Here is a ba floating or flying over top of a mummy.
What's he got?
This, what's he holding?
Yeah.
Not exactly sure what that is he's carrying. Here is the ba in 3 dimensions. Bird body, human head. And connection to something above on top of the head, which you often see in Egyptian hieroglyphs.
It can be any human base form with, as long as it has a hawk body or bird body, it's considered ba.
Yes.
Isis be considered?
Isis, no, is not a depiction of the ba. Isis is a goddess or a netter, which we'll talk about netters. We're talking about a part of the human here that is being shown with bird body and a human head. This is also interesting to notice this thing going up from the top of the head here of a human. Priestess. Oh, is that Hathor? Oh, I think you're right, actually. Who's sometimes depicted as having a human body and an animal head, a cow.
Right. That would against us.
Isis also has been remembered.
And here's another one made out of some sort of plaster. So, yeah. Oops, that's not one. My mistake. And here's the last one. Looks like it's made out of gold.
Is it 24 karat gold?
Quite possibly. It's a good question. I'm not sure what the purity of gold was. Probably different levels of purity. You've seen in all sorts of iconography the different hats going up quite tall in some cases above the head, which is more than a fashion statement. I mean, it might have become something of a fashion statement later on, because initially things are done as, a means to enhance power. And then as people lose consciousness and lose the understanding of the power, and a lot of practices become decadent, then it just becomes sort of an empty thing where people are into like fancy hats above the head. But one of the main things is that it actually accentuated the Ka body above the head. And we're talking about the Ka now, this energetic body which can protrude above the physical head. And according to Rudolf Steiner, in the time of the Egyptians and prior to that, well, actually quite a bit prior to that, he's actually talking more about the Atlanteans, that the Ka body protruded above the physical body much more. And it's been an evolution of coming down, bringing the Ka down into the physical. It's been a gradual thing over time to have the Ka body embodied in the physical body. And as I was pointing out before from this biography chart, that at the time of birth, there's a physical birth and physical development the first 7 years up to the change of teeth. And during those 7 years is when the child is weaning off the Ka of the mother, and the Ka environment of the Hut Ka, the baby's bedroom and stuff like that, that really is set up to hold, good vibrational space to incubate and encourage the embodiment of the Ka into the physical. So it's coming down through the head into the body. But that picture is actually a picture of how our ancestors were back eons before, where it didn't actually come all the way in. And what that allowed for them at that time was what? Because the Ka body was not so encased in the physical body where the brain is, it actually had more connection to cosmic forces, the cosmos, the starry realm, which is really the domain of the Ba. The Ba could also be referred to as the astral body, to use a term from Western esotericism. Astral, of course, referring to star, the star body, which is connected to the starry realm and the planets and so forth. And so with the Ka more outside of the physical body, working as a mediator between the Ba, the astral body, and the starry realm and the physical, they had much more, you could say, clairvoyance and cosmic connection back then. When I say clairvoyance, they received visions much more readily. They were much more visionary, because that is actually the way the Ba works. The astral plane, is a place of visuals and images and pictures, you could say, but not just static pictures, gifts again. And this is why, the hieroglyphs or hieroglyphs are portals actually to the astral plane. But the humans back then had more of that connection naturally to the astral plane because of this protrusion of the Ka outside of the physical head. And the wearing of these tall hats was Well, it in some ways helped to maintain that connection because it sort of accentuated the antenna-ness of the Ka body. It also signified that that person was a seer, that they had higher capacities of seeing and vision. You know, they may have been an oracle in a temple, some sort of advisor to the pharaoh and so forth. And I'll just mention as a side note, there's even you may be aware of like tribes that work to shape the skull from birth through the development and maturity of the physical body to make it more pointed, oblong, because again, it does make a difference. The shape of the head can turn it more into something of an antenna. Now, we don't need to be doing that now, even though we're much more, you could say, entrapped in the physical body. We're much more down, trapped in matter, and really feeling the lead and the weight of the physical world. And we are detached from the cosmic realm. And we've lost touch with the clairvoyant abilities. That's all fine and well. That's all fine and well, because it's actually necessary as part of our evolution to come more deeply into matter and then find a new way, a new form of clairvoyance, a new conscious clairvoyance that we do out of our own freedom of will rather than it being just the product of nature. So, saying here that the old ways are in the past, and we don't necessarily have to bring them back in the same way. But we do want to bring back our connection to the cosmos. We do want to cultivate these bodies in a certain way, and we're doing that here in this class. We've been doing practices such as putting awareness above the head in the column above, where there is aspects of your Ka body, and there are chakras above the head that are being activated through that practice that will give your astral body, it will develop its connection to its home, which is the astral world. So the bird, back to the bird body and the human head. Well, for one thing, the bird being an animal shows greater mobility. With the Ka, which is connected more to the plant world doesn't have mobility. The plant is rooted in a certain place, just as our Ka is rooted in our physical body. The Ba, the astral body, depicted as a bird, is more connected to the animal kingdom, which shows mobility. Mobility to move around in inner space. It gives us the impulse to move around in outer space as well. So the Ka can expand and go out, and it's the double, whereas the physical body is contracted and goes in. This is why they're the double. One, the physical is contracted, and the Ka etheric is expansive. Within that, the astral Ba has a whole range that it can move in. It can move in through the Ka into the physical body. And this is something we want. We want to embody the astral forces, because then that helps in the transmutation of the physical world. Now, things like substances and alcohol, they cause a further expansion of the ka. That's why people take substances, because it triggers the expansive nature of the ka. And think of it, somebody's been sitting in a cubicle all day, focused on a computer, then they get up and they have to get in a car and sit in, bumper to bumper rush hour traffic, and they come home and they want to drink. They want to, hit themselves with some alcohol, because the alcohol has the power to create expansion of the ka, which opens things up and then allows more astral flow, more mobility, and more connection to higher states of being. It's understandable. It's not something that's advisable. I mean, alcohol has been used in the past for initiatory things, and all the substances, and they still have a certain place. But at the end of it, we really want to engage our will, our own will, in being able to go out and come back in, because we're more empowered when we can do it consciously, willfully, through practices such as tantric practices and so forth, that we really take a hold of these different levels. And that's why in our meditation set, we're doing active meditations. We're doing things that are getting you active in your will to take a hold, to get rooted in these different levels, and become a master and an alchemist of them. So this ba, astral body, is also referred to as the soul. That's the way Egyptologists consider it, that it is the soul. And it's interesting, the word soul in Latin is the word anima, from which we get the word animal and animation and so forth. It really is also referred to as the wind or the breath, in some places. But it's showing how it is this part of it that's animated. The physical body is not animated on its own. It's just a corpse. And the ka just keeps it alive. The ka doesn't animate it. The soul is this part of me that's animated right now, that's talking to you, that's moving the physical body and so forth. And when we're animated, we are able to bring in different qualities. So when we do different gestures like this, or like this, or like this, we're really bringing down patterns. These are all patterns. And patterns come from really the starry realm, not from the physical, not from the ka. Physical and the ka get it really from the place of the planets, which is the place of patterns. It can be patterns that are organizing. We see the organizing of planets into a solar system, or they can be randomizing. They're like two ends of the spectrum, right? Sort of like this. We got something that's organizing into crystallization, and then there's randomizing. So, yeah, we become animated to bring in patterns from higher levels. This is helping with the organizing and ultimately the transformation of things on this level. And it's not only just shape, and we're working with shape, but in the opening set, we worked with what else? Color. Anything that has a particular quality is really coming from the astral plane. So shape, angle, color. We're working with sound. So tone, when we're doing the toning, amu, ra. Even tempo. Feel the difference? These are qualities. You need to understand the physics of quality, not just the physics of quantity. Modern science is so focused on the physics of quantity, measuring everything. But ultimately, what really animates us is the qualities. So you might have been animated by yellow or red. I had kind of a pink purple thing was animating my inner life. This is really the animation and the activity of the Ba. It animates us, animates others. The word soul in Greek is the word psyche. Soul comes from the Greek word psyche, from which we get psychology, psychiatry, psychotherapy, psychedelics. These are all things that are addressing the Ba. Psychology is the study of the human person or personality. We're studying personality disorders to try and solve them, to try and heal them. And I had a great question a year ago. Somebody said, what's the difference between Eastern and Western psychology? In Western psychology, one of the grandfathers of that was Sigmund Freud, who, he talked about the mind, but nobody knows where the mind is. We just really know the manifestations of the mind. And we give names to different things like the id, the ego, and the superego. But we can't even quantify these things. So in a way, psychology is not really considered a science because you can't quantify or measure it. You can just experience the phenomenon of it. So Western science really struggles with these things around the mind. And right now we're at a point where it's all been, I've seen people go, oh, your mind. And they point at their head, like their brain. The brain has become equated with the mind. Whereas in Eastern psychology, they talk in terms of the bodies, the shis, the koshas, and so forth, the chakras, that there's actual subtle anatomy that composes the mind. And to deal with the mind, it's not through drugs and electric shock therapy and, it's about dealing with the different levels of our being, understanding them, managing them, and getting them working together because they're all interconnected. And that's one of the reasons why we don't really experience them, is because they are interwoven together. We're looking at them here stacked in kind of a linear fashion, and there is some validity to that, that there is a bit of a hierarchy here. But in us, they're interwoven, they're intermeshed. That's why we don't and can't really experience them until we're given a perspective like this, that the window's open and it's like, oh, you can experience your physical body because this is its nature. You can experience your ka body because this is its nature. Oh, you can experience the ba because that's the animated part. This is the first level of consciousness in the human being. The physical body doesn't really have consciousness per se, and neither does the ka. When we get to the astral body, this is really where we begin to experience consciousness within ourselves. And also where we experience, troubles in terms of behaviors and whatnot. So the other night, I went over to Shambhalaz. He invites me over for movie and jacuzzi night. 2 weeks ago, we sat and watched Barbie together. It was great. This past weekend, I said, I want to watch The Mask. right? The mask, which is what psychology refers to as the personality. The personality is a mask. And yeah, this is quite an interesting movie. Any who's seen The Mask?
So good.
Came out a long time ago. Yeah. You know, Jim Carrey, great Canadian, plays this affable loser named Stanley Ipkiss, right? Working in a bank, you know. But then he discovers this ancient mask, which he puts on, and it lets his shadow side out, his repressed side, right? Because he's like boxed in this bank and, you know, boxed in his apartment with his landlady browbeating him. But when he discovers this ancient mask and he puts it on, the shadow side, the repressed side, his unfulfilled desires and whatnot, has a portal to come out. Now it's actually kind of the inversion of what actually happens. Normally we say, you know, when the mask comes off, the shadow comes out. You know, like people have a drink and then they drop their socially acceptable personality, the mask comes off, and they start to say what they really think, which can be, you know, can go anywhere. And so this is happening to Stanley Ipkiss, and at first he thinks it's just a bad dream. You know, what he's experiencing and what's happened and whatnot. And of course, this idea of dreams pertains to the level of Ba. Dreams can actually be the expression of different levels. You should know that some of your dreams are really just an expression of your ket, your physical body. You know, if you've got indigestion and things going on in your organs, that can manifest in the visionary space of a dream. Same thing with a ka. You know, something's imprinted in your ka, or you've got something attached to your energy field. You know, stuff you're holding there, that can manifest in the visionary space of a dream. Or it can be coming from the Ba, which, you know, is connected to the astral plane and the qualities there. And of course, the Ba can be connecting to the next higher level, which we'll get to next week. It can be bringing things down into dreams. So you need to be a bit judicious when it comes to being with your dreams and trying to interpret them for meaning and see if there's some sort of spiritual guidance or not. And in fact, the way I work, and you know, I'm a spiritual psychotherapist and have worked with people for one-to-one for 30 years. Sometimes, you know, looking at their dreams, but by and large, what I do with people is bring them into a practice of conscious dreaming, to be in a dreaming state while you're awake, or waking dreaming, and sometimes even introducing particular symbols and images to the mind for the mind to work with, so we know what it's talking about. We're speaking the same language because we work with archetypal images. So that to me is really the way of the future, is to bring more and more consciousness in, even so to the degree that we're awake, we're doing waking dreaming, or we're awake when we're asleep, having a lucid dream, either way. But it's kind of hard to lucid dream. You know, that's a practice that takes a lot of effort, can be hit and miss, but and you have a tea for that. Yes, you know, there are different ways. And in fact, Liz, the Blue Lotus lady, put in a little commercial announcement here. This Saturday, we're having a lofty gathering here that is going to include Rena. That's right. Her name is Rena Shah. Doing some light language and paying homage to the goddess Hathor. So there's going to be completely an Egyptian flavor happening here. And Liz, the Blue Lotus lady, is going to be serving us Blue Lotus tea, which we'll be drinking and having sound bath, guided meditation, and all that. She's also going to do it in one of our classes, one of these Tuesday nights, with us as well. So I'm looking forward to that with Liz. So if you can come this Saturday, it's 8 till 8 here in the loft, and be lots of fun, food, fellowship, music making, and so forth. So back to Stanley Ipkiss, who, first he thinks this is a dream. It's like, whoa, okay, that didn't really happen. But then he realizes after that it was for real, was not a dream. And he goes to a psychologist, to get help with his behavioral issues, because he's acting out. He's acting out things, he's saying things, he's doing things that are socially unacceptable. So he's suffering from personality disorder. And he goes to the psychologist, who doesn't really give him any help, just asks him to leave his office and never come back again, because he thinks he's crazy. He's a nut. What does he say? He says, I don't deal with people that have serious problems. And that's the trouble with a lot of psychologies. They'll hold your hand for years and kind of like hold your hand, take your money, and keep you in a bit of a limbo state, because they're not really embracing the whole human being. They don't understand, the different levels of the human being. Being a spiritual psychotherapist, I'm able to embrace those things. But eventually, Stanley Ipkiss is able to gain an upper hand with what goes on when he has this mask on. He becomes a master of it. He actually is embracing his shadow side, and it transforms him both when he's wearing the mask and not wearing the mask. And he goes from zero to hero as a crime fighter in what's called Edge City. It's kind of cool. It's called Edge City because it's just the edge, the threshold between, things that are unconscious and things that are conscious. And he's able to bring them together, which gives him an edge. And, he's able to transform his shadow side and fight crime at the same time. Now, I might, just as a side note, with regards to hygiene, my meditation teacher, Samuel Sagan of the Clairvision School, he said, you got to be careful about having animals sleep with you, sleeping on your bed, because you're lying there, your physical body stays in the bed, your ka body stays with the physical body to restore it, heal it, refresh it, but your astral body goes out. And so you're really open. And having an animal, which also has an astral body and a ka body, an animal has a soul. It's part of a group soul, like cats are part of the cat group soul and dogs are part of the dog group soul. We all discharge this stuff in the night as part of the restoration. So fragments of their ka carrying astral impulses can come into your field and become part of you. There can be kind of a conjunction or coagulation, which can lead to a fermentation of animal impulses within your body that you may not distinguish as not yours. Same thing eating animal products. Like I notice when I eat meat, I feel the qualities of the animal. I feel different instincts. It makes me a bit more aggressive, which can be good. I can get you up like a strong like bull, right? If that's what you need, have some red meat. So just a note on that with sleeping with animals. you may end up taking on some of their energy. Well, the metaphysical fact of the matter is that we astral travel every night. We do astral travel unconsciously when the ba leaves these bodies in the bed. We don't remember it because we're not prepared. Our mind is not prepared to have consciousness of that. But that's what we're working towards. But the ideal is to be able to remember, but then also to consciously extend our mind out into the astral plane and access things and bring it in, which we're doing. We're doing to a certain level already. But this definitely is the road ahead for human evolution, is to be more conscious in accessing these higher levels of being. Liz?
What's your interpretation of something like sleep paralysis?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, okay. Let me, that ties into my next point. We look at the Egyptian myths and all these gods in the myths, right? From the older gods to the newer gods, Isis, Osiris, Hathor, Horus, and so forth. Thoth, Anubis. They're represented as having a human body and an animal head, opposite of the Ba that has an animal body and a human head. Same with the Sphinx. The Sphinx has an animal body and a human head, really representing the emergence of the human out of the animal impulses, the animal form, and we've got an animal body, but there's something emerging, and the head really does represent this emergence. Now, the Egyptian gods and goddesses, which were referred to as netters, N-E-T-E-R. Actually, it's just N-T-R, but we've added the E's because they didn't have vowels in their language. But we refer to them as netters, gods, spiritual beings of nature. They're depicted the way they are because the initiates were actually able to meet with these netters on the astral plane. They had interaction with these beings and were able to receive their guidance and so forth in the shaping of society and in the learning of new things and so forth. But there's other beings as well on the astral plane that have a function that isn't to support human evolution and development, but to oppose it. I mean, there's a whole variety. It's really, there's infinite possibilities when we get into these higher levels. And so with sleep paralysis, if I used to suffer from it myself. I haven't for years, but it was when I was being a little less discriminate about drinking alcohol and other things that left me open, vulnerable, and exposed to beings that, like to prey on humans, parasitize, draw off their energy, play with them as puppets. And they have access during that in-between state, right? When you're not quite awake and you're not quite asleep. It's known spiritually as the twilight time. It's a threshold. It's an edge city. It's a borderland where if you have not structured yourself well and you're not doing good practices, they can enter and basically sit on you and cause a paralysis. They infest your subtle bodies and then may carry on into the day. They may stay there. It's much more common than people realize. And it's part of our work in waking up to understand these different levels. Unfortunately, Western medical science doesn't realize that's what's going on in a lot of people's mental health issues and insanity and so forth, that it's, they've thrown that idea out with As being kind of a quaint thing from the Middle Ages, that there was demons and spirits and entities and elves and fairies and things like that that can actually infest and nest in the subtle bodies. So that's why, we don't want to focus on that stuff. We want to focus on strengthening ourselves. We want to focus on the light. We want to grow our perspectives and powers so we can deal with these things, because we're going to have to deal with it in the alchemization of the earth and ourselves. So to finish off now, coming around to the home play, last week, we were talking about Steiner's lectures on overcoming anxiety disorder. And the practice was to work with handwriting in your journal and how that's bringing order to the disorder. This week, you can add to that around your walking. To observe how you walk, to observe how others walk. Often you can distinguish someone in the distance, right? You can go, oh, I know who that is. You can tell by the way they're walking, right? Everybody has their own walk, their own gait. It's like a signature. So pay attention to how you walk, how others walk, and begin to change your walking, or take moments to change your walking. Me, I've been working on slowing it down, for one thing. In Egypt, I was really like, oh, I don't have to rush. I'm not in Toronto. I don't have to go anywhere. So I really slowed down. And since I've come back, I've slowed down. I go down to the room downstairs and I do walking practices where when I walk, I put my toes down first instead of my heel. Most people walk pounding down with their heels. Like, it's a lot of gravity. But when you put your toes down first, there's much more levity. And we began working with a practice today, putting the fingertips together, because the fingers and toes are the eyes of the hands and feet, right? If you thought of this as the whole body, or the foot as the whole body, as they do in Chinese medicine, they see the extension of these limbs being kind of a holograph of total being. This is more the head. This is more where the intelligence is. Down here in the heel, this is more where the will is, power. And of course, in the middle is the heart zone. So up here in the fingertips and in the toe tips, it's like the eyes, right? When you walk, it's like you've seen what's there. And I do this up at my sister's cottage. I go out at night and I won't turn on the light, and I'll walk down all these steps to the dock in the dark. And I'm just like, oh, there's the edge of the step. There's the edge of the step. I'm seeing with my toe tips. So you might try that practice of walking, putting your toes down first. And see again, what you put out is putting something in, some sort of pattern, some sort of force into your bodies to strengthen them and transform them. And to do it regularly, of course, because rhythm replaces force. There's no point just doing these things once. You want to do them regularly. So, yeah, maybe write these things out. These things are going to be on the Google Doc. You might want to print that off and have it there so you can see it to remind yourself. And also, this meditation sequence, I'm writing it out on the Google Doc, so you might want to print that out as well. Okay, so the question to end off with, and you're going to get like 2 minutes, the dyad partners. Let's switch you guys up. So you two and you two, instead of being...
You too.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and Agnieszka and Christian. What is one thing I can do to take better care? Well, one thing at least. What's one thing at least I can do to take better care of my ba, my soul, my inner life?